Roger Prabhupada Guru Maharaj, reading from chapter 18, Perfection of Renunciation, starting from verse 26 to 50.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Good. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, we can, Prabhu. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukta Sango Naham Vadi Vrityutsaha Samanditaha Siddhya Siddhyo Nirvikaraha Karta Satvika Uchyate.
One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness.
Ragi karma phala pretsur labdho himsatmako shuchihi harsha shokanvita karta rajasa parikirtitaha.
The worker who is attached to work and the fruits of work desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, said to be in the mode of passion.
Ayukta prakrita stapta shato naishkritiko lasaha vishadi dirgha sutri cha karta tamasa uchyate.
The worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating and expert in insulting others, and who is lazy, always morose and procrastinating, said to be a worker in the mode of ignorance.
Buddhir-bedam driteshchaiva gunatas-trividham shrinu prochyamanam asheshena prithaktvena dhananjaya.
O winner of wealth, now please listen as I tell you in detail of the different kinds of understanding and determination according to the three modes of material nature.
Pravritim cha nivritim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham cha ya vetti buddhi sa partha satviki.
O son of Peter, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done, what ought not to be done, what is to be feared, what is not to be feared, what is binding, what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness.
Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyameva cha ayathavat prajanati buddhi sa partha rajasi.
O son of Peter, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion.
Adharmam dharmam itiya manyate tamasavrita sarvarthan viparitamscha buddhi sa partha tamasi.
That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strives always in the wrong direction, Apartha, is in the mode of ignorance.
Rityaya dharayate mana pranendriya kriyaha yogena vyabhicharanya dritisa partha satviki.
O son of Peter, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and which thus controls the activities of the mind, life and senses, is determination in the mode of goodness.
Yaya tu dharma kamarthan dhritya dharayate arjuna prasangena phalankankshi dritisa partha rajasi.
For that determination by which one holds fast the fruit of results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification, is of the nature of passion, O Arjuna.
यया स्वप्नं भयं शोकं विषादं मदमेव च न विमुञ्चति दुर्मेधा धृतिस्सा पार्थ तामसी.
And that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such an intelligent determination, O Sarapita, is in the mode of darkness.
सुखं त्वैदानीं त्रिविधं शृणु मे भरतर्षभा अभ्यासाद्रमते यत्र दुःखान्तं न च निगच्छति.
O best of the Bharatas, now please hear from me about the three kinds of happiness by which the conditioned soul enjoys, by which it sometimes comes to the end of all distress.
यत्तदग्रे विषमिव परिणामे मृतोपमं तत्सुखं सात्विकं प्रोक्तम् आत्मबुद्धिप्रसादजम्.
That which in the beginning may just like be poison, but at the end it's just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be in happiness in the mode of goodness.
विषयेन्द्रिय संयोगात् यत्तदग्रे मृतोपमं परिणामे विषमिव तत्सुखं राजसं स्मृतम्.
That happiness which is derived from contact of the senses with the objects of which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be of the nature of passion.
यदग्रे चानुबन्धे च सुखं मोहनमात्मनः निद्रालस्य परादोत्थं तामसमुदाहृतम्.
And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, said to be in the nature of ignorance.
न तदस्ति पृथिव्यं वा दिविदेवेषु वा पुनः सत्त्वं प्रकृतिजैर्मुक्तं यदेभिः स्यात् त्रिभिर्गुणैः.
There is no being existing either here or among the demigods in the higher planetary systems, which is free from these three modes born of material nature.
ब्राह्मण क्षत्रिय विषां शूद्राणां च परन्तप कर्माणि प्रविभक्तानि स्वभाव प्रभवैर्गुणैः.
Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes, chastisa of the enemy.
शमोदमस्तपः शौचं शान्तिरार्जवमेव च ज्ञानं विज्ञानमास्तिक्यं ब्रह्म कर्म स्वभावजम्.
Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work.
शौर्यं तेजो धृतिर्दाक्ष्यं युद्धे चाप्यपलायनं दानमीश्वरभावश्च चात्रं कर्म स्वभावजम्.
Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas.
कृषिगो रक्ष्य वाणिज्यं वैश्यकर्म स्वभावजम् परिचर्यात्मकं कर्म शूद्रस्यापि स्वभावजम्.
Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas, and for the Shudras, there is labor and service to others.
स्वे स्वे कर्मण्यभिरतः संसिद्धिं लभते नरः स्वकर्मनिरतः सिद्धिं यथा विन्दति तच्छृणु.
By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done.
यतः प्रवृत्तिर्भूतानां येन सर्वम् इदं ततं स्वकर्मणा तम् अभ्यर्च्य siddhim vindati manavaha.
A worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading. A man can attain perfection through performing his own work.
Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushtitat swabhavaniyatam karma kurvanapnoti kilbisham.
It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's natures are never affected by simple reactions.
Sahajam karma kaunteya sadosham api na tyajet sarvarambha hi doshena dhumenagni vibhavritaha.
Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of its nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault.
Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata sprihaha naishkarmya siddhim paramam sanyasena adhigacchati.
One who is self-controlled, unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyments can obtain a practice of renunciation, the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction.
Siddhim prapto yatha brahma tatapnoti nibodha me samasenaiva kaunteya nishtha jnanasya ya para.
O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has archived this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage of Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai.
Hare
Jai. Jai, wonderful. Thank you so much. Krishna Govinda Prabhu, very, very nice English recitation. And Shampriya Mataji, amazing. Absolutely amazing. That tune was fantastic. Very, very soothing. And pronunciation, as I expected, was absolutely perfect. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Guruji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So we'll so welcome once again those who have just joined. We will continue reading Bhagavad Gita from the 18th chapter. Let me just share my PowerPoint and we can take it from there. So today we'll be reading two texts, 29 and 30. The reason being 29 is quite a short purport. It's just like an introduction to the next mini section. So it doesn't have much tattva. So we will just read that, maybe speak a couple of words about it, and then move on to 30. But before that, we will just, as usual, we'll do the chapter summary so far, so we can see where we are in this big chapter. It's one of the longest chapters in Bhagavad Gita, as we know. So it's always good to just remember where we were, where we come from. So text 1 to 12, a summary of the chapters 1 to 6, which is the karma section of the Bhagavad Gita. 13 to 18 was a summary of the middle section, the Jnana section, 13 to 17 chapters. And then current section we're on is the long one, 19 to 40, which talks about the modes controlling all activities. So as I was saying last time, the modes are very, very important to understand. Krishna gives the whole of 14th chapter talking about the modes, and he speaks quite extensively the 17th chapter about the modes. And now again, in much more detail in the 18th chapter. And of course, throughout the Gita, you will find reference to the modes all the time. So very, very important section we're going through, very nicely broken down by Krishna for all of us. So today's text is 29. Buddhir bedam diteshchaiva. Sorry, before the text, I forget to do the invocation always. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 29. Buddhir Vedam Diteshaiva Gunatastri Vidam Shanu Procyamanam Asheshena Pritatvena Dhananjaya. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O winner of wealth, now please listen as I tell you in detail of the different kinds of understanding and determination according to the three modes of nature. Very short purport, so I'll read it myself. Now, after explaining knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower in three different divisions according to the modes of material nature, the Lord is explaining the intelligence and determination of the worker in the same way. So we'll just summarize first, just in terms of these three aspects, three constituents of work that Krishna has just explained. So text 20 to 28, Krishna explained to us about jnanam, karma, and karta. So knowledge, the work, and the worker. Then in 20 to 28, one second, some feedback from somewhere. Okay, that's gone. So yeah, where was I? Okay, 23, 25 actions in the three modes, and then 25, 26 to 28 workers in the three modes. So these three aspects were covered. And now in this, he's explaining, he's actually introducing to us to the two new aspects. So Krishna will now begin about the understanding and determination in the three modes. Buddhir Bhedam Dhitesh Chaiva. So Buddhi actually refers to intelligence, but also understanding. Bhedam Dhite, Dhrita means determination. Dhridavata, Dhitesh. Buddha is translated by Srila Prabhupada, the one in the word to word of intelligence, but of course that also means understanding. And Dhrite of steadiness, which means determination. So the knowledge, action, and the worker, these are the three constituents of work. But then these are the two factors which impact the not just the quality of the work, but the quantity of the work. That is affected by the understanding and determination. So understanding and determination, they actually direct and drive the action. They give they propel the action. So by understanding, we give the direction to where the action is going to take us, and the drive comes from our determination. So buddhi is a faculty that allows us to discriminate between right and wrong, isn't it? Whatever we are always choosing between right and wrong, and it is the buddhi or the understanding or intelligence that allows us to do this discrimination. Finally, of course, the choice is ours. And dhriti is that inner determination, as I was saying earlier, that allows us to persist in doing this action, regardless of any hardships, obstacles, any hurdles that come our way. So this is why both are necessary. The understanding to make our choice, and then to have the determination to follow it through. Many times I myself notice sometimes that if I'm doing something, if I'm asked to, especially when I was working, the boss would say something. This is before I had all my own business a long time ago. So the boss would do something, and I was not really too keen. So I would do it. I had the intelligence to do it, but just because I really wasn't keen about that particular idea, I wouldn't have the determination, and then the result, of course, would not be good. So So both of them there are three kinds of, there are three, according to the modes of nature, there are three types of buddhi and three types of vritti. So three types of understanding and three types of determination. So it just follows the same theme actually along the way. So these two factors are necessary. Just to clarify, it's actually whether it's good action or bad action, these three are needed. In fact, sometimes I wonder if when it comes to bad action, it's needed even more. Because when you think about some of the scams, these fraudsters, so they're doing bad action, they're trying to cheat people of their money. But you think about the intelligence that goes behind concocting these scams and the determination that they have to succeed. So this is, it works both ways. Whether it's good action or bad action, you have this necessity to have the buddhi and the determination. I used to travel to Nigeria quite a lot in my work, and Nigeria is very famous, as we all know. I'm sure all of us at some point have received emails of somebody claiming to be, working in a bank, and he's found some unclaimed millions and millions of money, and if you give me your bank account, and I'll transfer the money to you, and all that. The idea is that I'll give you half, and you take half. I'll give me half, like that. But all that's a scheme, and all these people there, they do so much planning to try and get, and some poor souls get duped, and their bank accounts are cleared out. So yeah, Nigeria is very famous for. Actually, I've lived in East Africa, as some of you may know. I lived in Uganda before I came to UK, Idi Amin time, and also I've traveled extensively in my business through other parts of Africa. But I must admit, Africans in Nigeria probably are the most brightest. They're very, very clever business people, very, very bright people. But unfortunately, a lot of them use their intelligence in the wrong way. There was one time when I was with a customer in a northern Nigeria place called Kano, and I happened to be in a meeting with him, and at that morning somebody had delivered a bank draft for about 60,000 naira, which was worth about 40,000 pounds, to collect some goods. They loaded the lorry went, and then they went to the bank, and they found out that it was complete fake. The draft was actually not a genuine draft. So on that afternoon, he lost 40,000 pounds worth of goods, just because somebody did such an amazing, such an intelligent copy of a bank draft. But this is what I mean, intelligence. So yeah, and one thing to also make a point here is, those who are in Krishna consciousness, they are not forced to act by the modes. So once you are in pure Krishna consciousness, then we are above the modes, and then we are not affected by these kind of three kinds of different modes and actions and everything. So that was 29, just introducing the section, and now we can just chant the verse again of 1830, where Krishna will now go into more detail about one of the aspects, goodness in this particular case. So, pravritim cha nivritim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham cha ya veti buddhi sa partha satviki. O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness. So interesting words here to pravritim and nivritim. So pravritim is action, doing activities. Nivritim is not doing. So these two words are also used sometimes in terms of pravriti marg and nivriti marg. Pravriti marg generally is explained as marg of karma kand, so enjoying the fruits of your labor. And then nivriti marg is the marg of renunciation. That is the marg that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas prefer. And that when we say renunciation, of course, as we have read earlier in this chapter, not renouncing the activities, but renouncing the fruits of the activities. So that too for us is nivritti. In this particular text, Krishna is using it as doing activity and not doing activity. So in this verse, interestingly, there are four binary oppositions. So binary oppositions, so one word having two sides. So doing activities, renouncing activities. That is pravritti and nivritti. Then next one is karya. So karya, akarya. So what is to be done, what is not to be done. Bhaya, abhaya. What is to be feared and what is not to be feared. And then bandha and moksha. What is binding and what is liberating. So these are the things that we will speak about in a minute. So here's a short purport. Let me see if Urmila, are you there? Are you able to unmute and recite the chad to read the purport?
Yes,
Thank
I'll
you.
try.
Okay.
Performing actions in terms of directions of the scriptures is called pravritti, or executing action that deserves to be performed. And actions which are not so directed are not to be performed. One who does not know the scriptural direction becomes entangled in the action and reactions of work. Understanding which discriminates by intelligence is situated in the mode of goodness.
Thank you, Urmila. Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, so we'll just go and break down this purport a little bit and let's see how we can go. So Prabhupada says in the purport, performing actions in terms of the directions of the scriptures is called pravritti, or executing actions that deserve to be performed. And actions which are not so directed are not to be performed. So basically, one is dharma, one is adharma, isn't it? So actions to be performed are dharma, and actions not to be performed are adharma. So in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, when the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas are having the conversation over Ajamil, at that time, Vishnudutas have asked Yamadutas, if you are actually the candidates for, no, so we say, if you are actually the real representatives of Yamaraj, then you should explain to us what is dharma and what is adharma. And this is the answers that Yamadutas give. So Yamaduta uchu veda pranihito dharmo yadharmas tat viparyaya vedo narayana shakshat swayambhur iti shushruma. The Yamadutas replied, that which is prescribed in the Vedas constitute dharma, the religious principles, and the opposite of that is irreligion. The Vedas are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, and are self-born. This we have heard from Yamaraj. So there's a long purport, but I've taken a section of the purport. So here Prabhupada is explaining in that purport that servants of Yamaraj replied quite properly. They did not manufacture principles of religion, of irreligion. Instead, they explained what they had heard from the authority, Yamaraj. Mahajanayena gata sapantha. One should follow the Mahajans, the authorized persons. Yamaraj is one of the 12 authorities. So we know about the 12 Mahajans. Can anybody name the 12 Mahajans? We know one of them is Yamaraj.
Brahma, Shiva, Narad,
Bali Maharaj,
Yes.
Bhishma Bhatta,
Bhishma,
Bhishma,
Janakraj,
Yes.
Bhishma, four Kumaras.
Kumaras,
Narad
Lord
Muni,
Shiva,
Narad Muni,
Janak Maharaj, Janak Maharaj,
and Kapil Muni, Bhishma.
Char Kumaro.
Yes, we got them. I think we got them all. I think one or two may be missing, but the verse goes, Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo. Bush, anybody go? Bhishma, Parada Janaka Bhishma, Balir Vayasaki Vayam. Right? So it is the last two, the one I think I didn't hear Sukhdev Goswami, and also I didn't hear Bali Maharaj. So these are so these are the 12 Mahajans, and these are the knowers of religious principles. So we should follow in their footsteps rather than concocting some kind of religious system. So Prabhupada continues in that purport. The members of the modern civilization manufacture defective religious principles through speculative concoction. This is not dharma. They do not know what is dharma and what is adharma. So this is just speaking a little bit about the dharma and adharma. Prabhupada continues in that short purport. One who does not know the scriptural directions becomes entangled in the actions and reactions of work. So so we have three kinds of actions, three kinds of work. Anybody name them?
Is it karma, akarma, vikarma?
Yes, Puja Mataji, thank you so much. So karma, akarma, vikarma. So Sri Prabhupada in the second verse of the Sri Ishopanishad, Prabhupada gives nice short description about this. So Prabhupada says karma, akarma, and vikarma are very clearly described in the Bhagavad Gita. Then he gives the three actions that are to be performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. So in brackets is my words. I've just put down my thoughts. So this is normal sinless actions, I would say. This is karma, normal sinless actions. Then actions that are performed through the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower life forms are called vikarma. This is what Prabhupada is saying. So these are basically prohibited or sinful actions. And then actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma. So all activities that are performed without material expectations, but just to please Krishna. So this is my interpretation. So that is akarma. And this is exactly what one should be focusing. So Prabhupada says, of these three types of action, that which frees one from the bondage to karma is preferred by intelligent men. So there's a beautiful verse explaining this in terms of work, what kind of work should be done in 3:9. Anybody know this verse? Yagnathat karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. So work done as sacrifice to Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. And again, short of some extract of the purport. Therefore, Prabhupada says, therefore one has to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Any work done in this material world will be cause of bondage, for both good and evil work have their reactions, and any reaction binds the performer. Therefore, one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu. And while performing such activities, one is in a liberated stage. This is the great art of doing work. And in the beginning, this process requires very expert guidance. One should therefore one should therefore act very diligently under the expert guidance of a devotee of Lord Krishna. So this is why many times people say, oh, why do I need a guru? I can read, I can, teach myself. But this is the point. We need expert guidance. Otherwise, we will get lost. So another very, very important point, that the work has to be done to please Krishna, and how to do it properly is taught to us by the acharyas and by our spiritual master. Then Prabhupada says in the purport, understanding this discrimination by intelligence, understanding which discriminates by intelligence is situated in the mode of goodness. So here I was thinking about this particular verse in the 14th chapter, which talks about the modes here. He says, Tatta Sattvam Nirmalatvat Prakashakam Anamayam Sukha Sangena Badnati Vinana Sangena Chanaga. Krishna says, O sinless one, of course addressing Arjuna, the mode of goodness, being purer than others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by the sense of happiness and knowledge. And again, a short part of the purport. The effect of developing the mode of goodness in material world is that one becomes wiser than those otherwise conditioned. A man in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by material miseries, and he has a sense of advancement in material knowledge. So you see, advantage is not just spiritual, also materially, you would have more knowledge. This sense of happiness is due to understanding that in the mode of goodness, one is more or less free from sinful reactions. Actually, in the Vedic literature, it is said that the mode of goodness means greater knowledge and greater sense of happiness. So the mode of goodness, it is illuminating, it brightens our intellect, it fills our heart with knowledge, and that's why it also gives us the ability to discriminate between right and wrong. So this is why it's so important to remain in the mode of goodness. And this is why when you come to Krishna consciousness, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we have to follow all the regulative principles, and the main purpose of the regulative principles is to move us from wherever we are to the mode of goodness at least. And of course, finally, we know that we need to move even beyond that to the Suddha Sattva stage. So in that purport, Prabhupada later on talks about the fact that, although this mode of goodness is illuminating, gives you happiness and all that, but sometimes it also becomes bondage, because the conditioned soul sometimes becomes too proud of his position, because he's better than the others. He thinks, I am the mode of goodness, I'm pure, I'm better than others. If that gives you pride, then it is also binding. So we have to be careful how we deal with it. So in terms of working to please Krishna, the beautiful verse in Bhagavatam 1:2-13, anybody know this? When you see it, you will be very famous verse, you all know it. Atapum Divjashrestha Varnashrama Vibhagasaha Swanuthistasya Dharmasya Samsiddhi Hari Toshanam, pleasing Hari. So, O best among twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. So this is the highest perfection. We all need to make sure that whatever actions we are doing are pleasing the Lord, and that way we will not go wrong. Then, so we constantly, as we know, we're constantly making use of our free will to make choices in this world. From the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, we are making choices, we're making decisions, and you're choosing between, usually two, maybe even more options. So when it comes to choices, I never forget a famous quote that Shruti Dharma Prabhu used to speak. Anybody know this quote? I've used it before in this class 2 or 3 times. Anybody remember that? Shruti Dharma used to often say, he used to say, life is not about winners or losers. It is about choosers. Remember that, anybody? He's often said that. So, yeah, so we're choosing all the time. We're choosing, and any idea, anybody, how many decisions, how many choices do we make in a day? Take a guess. Take a wild guess. Anybody? Just take a guess. There's no wrong answer. Go on.
1,000? Is it 36,000?
Wow. Who's that? Puja Mataji, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. You're so close. So 30, you count, well, I don't know who's counting them, but this is what somebody has said. 35,000 decisions in a day that we are making. Right? So are we making the right decision? This is the question, right? So all this decisions we're making choices during the day, and these choices, they culminate, they cumulative choices, they determine our destination, not just in this life, but also in our next. So you can see every decision we're making, it is so important. Nothing is we should take it easy, because every choice we make will determine our future and the next life too. To make proper choices, a developed faculty of determination is required. So, like with the Prabhupada says earlier, yes, once you are in the mode of goodness, then you will have this determination, and you will have the buddhi to make the right choices. The Sattvic understanding gives us the intellect to decide what type of action is to be performed and what type of action is to be renounced, and what is to be feared and what is to be ignored. So this is a very important lesson in terms of our choices. And then finally, just some thoughts about the Bhagavad Gita. So Arjun Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjun to give him this understanding. So by which, how he would know. So by learning from Krishna, Arjun learned these things. And obviously, as we all know, Arjun is asking the questions on our behalf. So Krishna is teaching Arjun, but indirectly, Arjun doesn't need a lesson. Arjun is a liberator soul, but we need a lesson. So this is all designed for us to hear. So we ought to learn. So by reading about Bhagavad Gita, we will learn this. We will learn what ought to be done and what ought not to be done. I think most of us are very much okay with this first one. What is to be feared and what is not to be feared? So first of all, going back to the first one, Arjun got completely bewildered, as we know. He didn't know what to do, right? He didn't know what ought to be done, what not to be. Krishna wanted to fight, and Arjun is saying, Krishna, how can I fight? How can I kill my grandfather? How can I kill my teachers, my gurus? How can I kill my cousins? So he didn't know what ought to be done and what not to be done. So in that stage, then fear, what to be feared. So he was fearing also. He was fearing that, if I kill all these people, I'm going to get all the karma, and I'm going to, what is the point? And I won't even enjoy the kingdom after that. What's the point of involving me in this ghastly war, he says in that verse, right? So he was fearful of the war itself. So later on, of course, we know he learned what was not to be feared. And then what is binding, what is liberating. So again, see, because he was very much in the bodily concept, supposedly, of course, as I said earlier, it's not that he was, but he was pretending. Either he was playing the role, or Krishna had covered him with the Yogamaya, or for him to forget his position. But he was feeling that by doing all this action, he will be bound. He will be bound by all the actions. Similarly, we may be thinking, oh, if I do this, I'll get this, I'll get this. But the point here is, what is liberating? Finally, when he understands it, he realizes that by acting according to the instructions of Krishna, everything is liberating. It may seem from a mundane point of view that is a binding or it's sinful, but if it's something that you're doing to please Krishna, then it is always liberating. But that's the main lesson. So he was attached initially to his relatives and his friends and everything, cousins, everything, feeling weak, feeling fearful. He was shaking. As we know, we can see he's not holding his dhanush, his bow. His bow has slipped off. from his hand. And at that time, he's then saying to Krishna in the 7th text of the 2nd chapter, Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava prichhami tvam dharma samuda cheta yashreyashan yashreyashan nishitam bruhitan me shishyas deham sadimam tvam prapannam. He says, Krishna, I am now confused about my duty. I've lost all composure, he says, due to miserly weakness. In this state, I'm asking you to tell me what is right for me. I'm now your disciple, a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. We need to be in that situation. We need to surrender to our superiors and say, please, please, I don't know what I'm doing. I really, I have no idea what is right and what is wrong. Please tell me what is right for me to do in any situation. So once the relationship of friendship was escalated to the relationship of Guru and Shishya, this is when Krishna then starts to speak the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna and to all of us. And having spoken all the verses in the 63rd verse of this particular chapter, Krishna will say to him, now I've explained everything to you, Arjuna. I've given you all the details that you need to know. Now, think about this deeply and then do as you wish. Yatechasi tatha guru, Krishna says. It's not that Krishna says, I've taught you everything, now you have to do what I say. No, this is again free will. We speak about free will quite often. Here our free will comes again. I've taught you everything, but Arjuna, you still have the free will to do what you like. And then Arjuna, of course, after again, Krishna speaks a few more verses after that. And then 73, 10 verses later, Arjuna says, anybody know 73, 1873?
Is it Nashta Moha Smriti
Very
Rabha?
nice. Very good, Puja Mataji. Very, very nice. Yes. Nashta moha smriti labda pat prashadam maya chuta sitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. He says, Krishna, oh my Lord, my memory, my illusion is gone and my memory has returned by your mercy. He says, I am now firm and fixed in knowledge and I'm ready to act as per your instructions. So finally, we're talking about work in the mode of goodness, but finally is following the instructions of Krishna. How do we follow the instructions of Krishna? We are not as fortunate as Arjuna to have Krishna standing in front of us like this, but how do we follow our instructions? By reading his instructions in the Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, by following his instructions through our gurus and acharyas. This is how we follow. And once we do that, we remain on the path to success. And we make our human form of life completely successful. So we will end here, and I will invite any comments, questions, corrections, realizations.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Puja Mataji.
I know you explained this before, that Krishna is standing and Arjuna is sitting down.
Yeah.
Can you please explain again, please? What is the reason? Why is that? Normally, Guru would be sitting down because we are begging mercy from him.
Yes, good question. So Arjun, because it is said in that verse that when he was perspiring, his hair was standing on end, he was shaking, his bow fell down. Just his knees went so weak because of that reaction that he fell back onto his seat.
Okay.
So this was a symptom of his bewilderment.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you, Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Any comments, questions?
Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
I know you probably say 700 verses to understand this one thing, but I still don't understand. What was it that triggered, one thing that triggered Arjuna to change his mind after a long conversation?
So if you remember, Arjun, first of all, he accepted Krishna as his guru in the 7th verse of the 2nd chapter. So basically, he was already in the right frame of 7th chapter. From the 2nd chapter, Arjun was already understanding things, right? And actually, as we know, the 2nd chapter is the summary of the whole of Bhagavad Gita. So by that time, Arjun had already clicked. He was fine. But he's asking these questions for us, for our clarification. Now imagine if Arjun at the end of the 2nd chapter said, yes, Krishna, I understand all of that, and Karishe Vachanam Tava, I will do what you like. We would have had just 2 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, and for us it would be impossible to fathom out what Krishna is trying to say. But because of that, Arjun kept asking so many questions for our clarification. So you will find, yes, in 2nd chapter, Arjun is already accepting Krishna as his guru, and he's accepting his words. Then again in the 10th chapter, 10:14, Arjun will say, 10:14 is after the Chatusloki Gita. He says, I forget the words now. Anybody know 10:14? Where he says, I totally accept everything that you told me. Yes, Sanskrit is gone now, but it says, oh Krishna, I totally accept as truth everything that you told me. Now he says, neither the demigods nor the demons can understand your personality. Now, sarvam etaditam manye.
Yanmam vadasi Keshava
Yam nam
nahi
Madhikeshwar nahi he bhagvam vayakim vidu devana danava.
Exactly. So you see, in the 10th verse already he has accepted Krishna as the Supreme. He's accepted everything that is told him. So, but the extension of the Bhagavad Gita rather to the 18th chapter is because of our benefit. Julie Mataji,
Yes, thank you. I actually was made to understand. Well, I felt I understood when he actually did show himself to him, his opulence, and he showed himself personally. Is that connected as well?
Yes. So we can see the 10th chapter, he's saying this, that I'm totally accepting everything as truth. And then in the 11th chapter, Krishna is showing the form because Arjuna is asking him. But again, Acharyas are explaining that not because Arjuna wanted to see it to confirm in his mind. No, Arjuna already was convinced. But Arjuna wanted Krishna to show his form so that it will be recorded. And for people like us, the doubting Thomases, for them, they would realize that yes, he is a supreme Lord because he actually exhibited his universal form. For that, number one. And second reason was that in future, when there is any fraudulent or fraud godmen coming up, then this is the yardstick. If you are a godman, if you say I am God, then show me your universal form.
Yes. Thank you very much. That's really beautiful. A lovely, lovely, lovely evening. Thank you, Prabhuji. It's put a big smile on my face.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna to everybody
Waiting
too.
to see if anybody saying anything. Anything in the chat? Any questions? Thank you all for your appreciations. Thank you. Thank you, Krishna Govinda Prabhu. Yeah, so anything else? Anything coming out? This is a nice, very nice section of the 18th chapter we're going through now.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you.
Tomorrow he will speak about the understanding. I don't know, I think it's Manu Prabhu tomorrow. He will speak about understanding in the mode of passion, and then it'll be ignorance, then it'll be determination in the 3 modes. Like this is continued. Such a nice way to explain this, the modes. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. So if we're all okay, thank you so much. Please look after yourselves. Yeah, hope everybody remaining Krishna consciousness of this wonderful celebrations of God Purnima. The next we're going to look forward to Ram Navami. So we got festivals coming one after the other soon. So thank you. Looking forward to that. So thank you all so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Sakindue Vika Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo